So what's going on, everybody? What it do? I want to hit this topic up again, man. Talk about this New Testament. I made a video about it called "What is a New Testament?" or "What is a New Covenant?" It's a pretty long video because there's a lot of scripture to cover about it. But I just want to do just kind of recap, make it real short and sweet. So I'm gonna have a little reference to, got some other videos I want to make that's gonna piggyback off of that topic. So basically, when it comes to the term New Testament or New Covenant, what's being understood is when you go to the New Testament side of the Bible, because it's got two halves to it. You have the Tanakh, or the Torah and the prophets, the Tanakh, and then you have the New Testament, which is the Gospels and letters. All right. So in that second half of that New Testament, the way that it's explained, that they're explaining, is what they're coming off of is by saying that God made a new covenant. So, and what it says in the book of Hebrews is that there was an old covenant. It said that there's an old covenant, now there's a new covenant, and the old one is vanishing away. And that's about in chapter 8. And it's just basically saying that everything that was in the so-called old covenant is because you don't have those words. You don't have the word old covenant anywhere in there except for there, where they're trying to say that there's a new covenant. So that's the only place where you're going to see the term old covenant. All right. So basically, what they're saying is that everything in the so-called old covenant was the best way to put it. These traditions and sacrifices and everything that they did in the so-called old covenant were just a foreshadow, or like to typify or signify something that was going to take place or taking place in a spiritual realm or invisible, where it says made without hands, or in the heavenly realms. So basically what they're saying is all these commandments that were given to Israel about keeping the laws, about keeping these sacrifices, or this whole covenant, basically the whole covenant that they had was really just a foreshadow of a whole new covenant, basically. And that's all throughout the theme of the New Testament, to basically saying that. So, and where they're pulling from to say that he's going to make a new covenant, there's the only place that is spoken by any prophet. And when I say the prophets, I'm talking about from Moses all the way up to Malachi. So the law and the prophets. So the only place that they're pulling from is Jeremiah 31, where he says, I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel. And it's, when you go through and you read the prophecy, I'm always going to encourage anybody, read the Bible, man, because that's really what the problem is. People wouldn't have to sit up here and say anything or teach you what it says or teach you what it doesn't say or whatever, if everybody would just sit down and read it from front to back. But we really don't have that. So then when people kind of do, when they sit down and read it from front to back, they have a lot of ideologies and preconceptions already made up how to interpret this stuff. So when they go and they read Jeremiah, that's exactly what that means. It means what Hebrews said it means. But when you read it when you start from the beginning, from the prophets, Moses is the first prophet. Okay, what's being said is Moses, we're going to start so after giving them the law, after giving Israel, the congregation of Israel, they're out there as a nation of people in the wilderness, and they're receiving the laws and how they're supposed to abide and how they're supposed to live according to these laws when they come into the land that they're getting. And then what was told to them is a prophetic thing also, and from Deuteronomy 28 to 32. He gives them a blessing and a curse, basically saying you're going to be blessed by keeping these laws, and then there's going to be a list of curses by not keeping the laws. And then he goes on to say, the Most High tells Moses basically that they're going to disobey the laws, and these curses are going to come upon them. It's not like a thing where it's a contingency, like where you keep the law, and then good things happen, then you stop, and then bad things happen, then you keep them, then good things is like going back and forth. What's actually taking place is he's prophesying that they're going to have they're going to go into the land, and then it's what he says is they're going to grow fat, they're going to be spoiled basically, and then they're going to start breaking the laws, and then those curses are going to come upon them. And then he goes on to tell them that after the curses come upon them, they're going to look into this book, and it's going to testify against them, because they're always going to have this book in their possession, the Israelites. And then when they look into that book, they're going to see basically that it pertains to them. And the reason why they're going through these curses is because of their disobedience to these laws as a nation, and their ancestors' disobedience to those laws. And also basically, telling them that they're going to, in a sense, that they're going to forget. I mean, they're going to, in Isaiah, he said that they've forgotten, but I haven't forgotten. I'm writing your name on the palm of my hands. So it's alluding to the fact that after these curses come upon them, they're gonna lose. So they're gonna lose their hierarchy. They're gonna lose their kings. That's the first thing to go. They don't have a king. You don't have a priest, no prophet, no your culture, your traditions, everything is gonna be wiped away. So you're not gonna know who you are, and you're gonna sit around like, as a nation of people, like, what's all this? What are all these bad things fall on us for? Is it because our God is not among us? And then so the book is going to testify to the Israelites who they are, right? And then it says that they're going to return to that same covenant. It says they're going to return to the covenant. When you return to the covenant to the laws of which I command you today. So they're going to remember that they had a covenant, and they're going to go back to that covenant that was given to them in the wilderness. And this is what Deuteronomy is saying. I'm in Deuteronomy 30. So then one of the curses that happens with Israel is that a foreign nation comes and invades them and scatters them all around the world. Okay, even going back to Egypt, and people will say, "Oh, this is not a literal Egypt, whatever." But just follow what it says. They're going back to Egypt. Okay, they're being scattered to different places around the world by foreigners who they haven't met. They don't know their language, and it's a new god that these foreigners are worshiping. Also, that they're gonna impose that god on them. So you have a people who've been scattered around the world, and they're being subservient to foreigners and the god of the foreigners. Okay, so then he says in Deuteronomy 30, he says that when you recollect these things, when all these things come upon you, and you realize what you're going through, you're going to turn back to that covenant, and then he's going to return to that covenant also. And by doing that, he said he's going to gather up all of the Israelites wherever they've been scattered, right? He's going to gather them up wherever they've gone, literally where they went out, where they went scattered to, and bring them back into the land that he promised Abraham, because he promised the land to Abraham and all his descendants. So he's going to keep that promise, and that's it. And also, all those judgments and those curses that were brought on Israel were going to fall on those foreigners that he used to bring the curses on them, because they weren't necessarily justified in by doing that. And he led them to do it, but in a political sense, these people came and robbed the people who didn't do anything to them, basically. So you have these foreigners who are attacking these people who didn't harm them. They're nice people, and they basically kind of giving up their land and kind of giving them stuff, and they're being nice, and they just took it from them, and killed a bunch of people, raped a bunch of people, took them off their homeland, A bunch of vile stuff, wicked stuff. So, the kind of theme of it is that these people aren't righteous enough to remain in that land. So they're going to receive the same curses. They're going to be expelled. They're going to be scattered. They're going to be enslaved, and all that stuff that they did to the Israelites. So that's kind of where you get the theme. And then we're going to remember that because I'm going to go into Isaiah 53 and break that down and the lingo that it's using and why it's using that lingo. Why you have this servant who's innocent and being treated wickedly by other people. But I'm not going to get into that right now. So basically, that's the promise. The prophecy, it's a prophecy in the law that Moses tells the Israelites, you're going to break the law, you're going to be scattered all around the world, and then when you realize what happened, you're going to return to this covenant and to the covenant that you were given in the wilderness, that you were given that day, that your ancestors were given that day. You're going to return to that covenant, and then he's going to, wherever you've been scattered, wherever the Israelites have been scattered, he's going to bring them back into the land, right? And once he brings them back into the land, this is the main part. This is the main thing. After he gathers them into the land, he said, then I will circumcise your hearts so that you can serve me. So, this is what a new covenant is. This is what Jeremiah is speaking about. How do we know that this is what Jeremiah is talking about? Even though he says New Testament, we're like, well, if it's new, there's got to be something new. Okay, but what was already spoken, Jeremiah is just repeating that. When you start in Jeremiah 30, this is another reason why we have issue interpreting the book. When you go to the New Testament and you read about Jesus, right, being a baby. And what do? King Herod, what does it say? King Herod tried to kill all the babies under the age of 2, right? So he killed all these babies, and then Jesus fled to Egypt with his mom, right? So he went to Egypt and hid so that King Herod wouldn't kill him. And then what they're saying and what it says, I think that's in Luke. What it says is that that the prophet Jeremiah was speaking about this happening with Herod trying to kill the babies, when Jeremiah says, we've heard a voice in Ramah, Rachel weeping for her children because they are no more, and it stops there. And see, and that's just terrible, man, because what they're doing is they're taking that out of context, man, to try to tell you a whole different story. They're telling you that Rachel's weeping for her children because Herod is putting them to death. But when you read Jeremiah, he's literally talking about the initial invasion, that they're taking Israel and they're starting to scatter Israel. And he says, we heard a voice in Ramah, Rachel weeping for her children because they are no more, refusing to be comforted. And right after that, it said, we're in the whole theme of Israel being scattered. This is the whole theme of Israel being conquered by another nation. It doesn't say anything about a Messiah or anything. Okay. So for you to believe that prophecy has to do with that, you literally have to think that prophecies have multiple meanings that are just ambiguous or randomly different from what it initially meant, which that is preposterous, is silly. But anyway, so when you go in there, it says that Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted because they are no more. Then it says right after that, refrain from weeping. It says refrain from weeping because your children will return to their own border. Your children will return home. So what it's telling you is that it's reminding, it's all the prophets are doing. All they're doing is repeating Moses. They're not saying anything different from what Moses is saying. I can go in there. I can go and literally in each prophet, I can go to each book and each prophet and show you the parallels between what they're saying and what was already spoken by Moses in Deuteronomy, in the whole book of Deuteronomy and some of Leviticus. They're just repeating what Moses told the Israelites from the beginning. And that's easy to prove. Okay, so what Jeremiah is doing right there is basically, he's basically just saying, basically reassuring Israel of what was told to them in Deuteronomy chapter 30, that you're gonna, when you return, we're gonna return to this covenant, and I'm gonna gather you from all the places where I scattered you and bring you back home. This is why Rachel is weeping. It literally says it right there. But if you just take out that one sentence like it does in the book of Luke, I think, and quotes it, then you're going to think it's talking about Jesus. It's deceptive. The New Testament is a deceptive book. It's deceiving. It is to take your mind off of the law, what was spoken of in the law, and put it on a whole new story. Now you have this Jesus guy who you're supposed to be infatuated with, right? Because he dies for your sins, which is against the law. No man can die for another man's sins. A son and a father can't even be put to death for each other. That they're giving you the utmost, the worst case scenario. Not even the father. You can't even die for your own son. Son can't even die for his own father. So that's not even legal, according to Torah. But anyway, so I'm gonna digress from that. But anyway, so what's taking place here is, in Jeremiah, he's reassuring the Israelites that they're going to return home. Okay, that in the latter days that they're gonna return home, and then I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. No longer shall a man teach his neighbor, saying, "Know the Lord," for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. And that's what that's saying. So. And then everybody's going to point out to the fact that people are still being taught, but I don't know why people kind of disregard that. If you're supposed to be in this New Testament, you're supposed to be in this new covenant. Everybody's supposed to have a circumcised heart, right? Well, that's supposed to cause you to keep the laws. It's not supposed to be like make you feel good and want to keep the laws. No, it doesn't say that. It circumcises the heart, cleans the heart. Okay. And in my other video, I went to other scriptures. I can show you a really good parallel to Jeremiah, and it's in Ezekiel. I think it's. Give me a second. I want to pull this up. I didn't want to read no scripture, but I want to pull this up because it's a really good parallel. But it's just what I'm just showing you is that basically. This Deuteronomy is the key to all understanding all prophecy, because it's the first time that Israel received prophecy about their nation. This is the first prophet, Moses. They got their prophecy about them being a nation. Now, all of the prophets after that, they're gonna speak according to what's in the law, which is prophecy. The law is prophecy. Not only is it saying that you keep these laws, or not only is the law telling you what laws to keep, but it's telling Israel what's going to happen to them concerning those laws. So all the other prophets are going to come and they're going to repeat the same thing Moses said. And I even touched on that. I have a video called A Prophet Like Moses, where Deuteronomy 18 is basically saying, giving you the model and telling you basically how this prophecy thing is going to work. How you're going to have prophets and you're not going to be dealing with witchcraft or nothing like that. But anyway, so all the prophets are going to be, how do you know a prophet? If what he says doesn't come to pass, he's not a prophet. We'll get into all that stuff later, man. But I just wanted to point out these parallels because I'm just showing you that Jeremiah 31:31 is literally Deuteronomy 30:6. Deuteronomy 30:6 is Jeremiah 31:31. A new heart, a new covenant, a clean heart. It's not a brand new covenant where there's an old one that gets washed away, because that's not what's being said in Deuteronomy. What's being said is that this is the covenant. You're going to break the covenant. You're going to break it. I'm going to judge you. And then when you realize that you broke the covenant, you're going to come back to it. And then I'm going to bless you. And then I'm going to fix your heart so you don't break this covenant anymore. There's no new covenant anywhere. It's one covenant. The covenant is the scattering is part of the covenant. The bringing back is part of the covenant. The circumcised heart is part of a covenant. Even though it says the new covenant, you have to understand what they're saying. What they're saying is that you're going to be renewed or circumcised or cleansed. And nobody has a clean heart. It's just impossible. I mean, according to prophecy, Israel has to be gathered together and brought back into their land, and then he will circumcise their hearts. This is literally what this is saying. All right, so let me go here I just want to point out this part in Ezekiel. I think I brought this up in my other video, but for the sake of this one, I'm just gonna bring it up real fast. I don't know where I'm at. Okay, so I think this is I'm gonna say it's gonna be Ezekiel. Okay, well, I brought up Ezekiel 20, which toward the end of it, he's talking to some elders and telling them, basically giving them the rundown. This is a good chapter to read to understand this whole covenant thing too, Ezekiel 20, because the elders come and they come to inquire, basically for instruction, and Ezekiel basically rebukes them, like, he's saying, I gave you my laws and you broke them. Now you're getting ready to receive this judgment. And then he says toward the end, I know you have it in your mind that you're just going to be out there with all the Gentiles serving their gods and eating their food or whatever. And he said, oh no. He said, no. You have it in your mind. What does he say? What you have in your mind shall never be, when you say, we will be like the Gentiles, like the families in other countries, serving wood and stone. He said, as I live, surely as I live, says the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand, with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out, I will rule over you. I will bring you out from the people and gather you out from the countries where you are scattered. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people. And there I will plead my case with you face to face, just as I pleaded my case with your fathers in the wilderness. So I will plead my case with you. And I will bring you into the and I will make you pass under the rod and bring you into the bond of the covenant and purge out the rebels from among you. So basically telling you that Israel's gonna receive another form of an exodus. They're gonna go through the wilderness again, and he's gonna purge out the rebels just like he did in the first time. Okay? And he's gonna make you pass under the rod. What is the rod? The correction, affixing you, circumcising your heart. Okay, so Ezekiel 36. That's where I needed to go with this. So in Ezekiel 36. We're getting the same rebuke, right? The prophets are always rebuking Israel the same way. Like I said, they're repeating Moses with the curses and with the blessings. So when you read the prophets, to understand them better, all you're going to see is them repeating curses and blessings in their own words. And the prophets are not talking about random future events like a Nostradamus or something. They're talking specifically about Israel and what they're going to encounter concerning the law. It's not random prophecies about random stuff happening and whatever. So, all right, so I'm in Ezekiel 36, right? Okay, so check this out. You can read it all the way up to here, but this is the key point, okay? Okay, the nations that are left all around you, Israel, shall know that I, the Lord, have rebuilt the ruined places and planted what was desolate. I will also let the house of Israel inquire of me to do this for them. I will increase their men like a flock. Okay, this is part of the promise also in Deuteronomy. It says, well, after I bring you back into the land, I'm going to multiply you more than your fathers. I'm going to bless you more than your fathers. I'm going to multiply your land, your grain, your offspring. Your everything is going to be more plentiful than it was for your ancestors. Okay. So this is just repeating that. Okay. I will increase their men like a flock offered as a holy sacrifice like a flock at Jerusalem on its feast days. So shall the ruined cities be filled with flocks of men. They shall know that I am the Lord. All right. That's the end of 36. That's not the part I wanted to read. Okay, so here we are in 36. It says, okay, in 36 it's talking about Israel, how they profane the name of God, basically by worshiping idols, by not keeping the law. He said, when they came to the nations, wherever they went, they profaned my holy name, right? When they said to them, these are the people of the Lord, yet they have gone out of his land. But I had concern for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations wherever they went. Therefore say to the house of Israel, thus says the Lord God, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but for my holy name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I will sanctify my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am the Lord, says the Lord God, when I'm hallowed in you before their eyes. So what is he saying? Israel was breaking the law, weren't keeping the covenant, yet therefore they went out of the land, right? They were scattered. And now that they have been scattered, like I said, they have no king, no prophet, no remembrance of who they are, their traditions. Everything has been swept up under the rug. And this has been done by a foreign nation. The foreign nation scattered these people. They hid their history from them, which hides it from the rest of the world, okay? They hid their history, their cultures, everything has been stripped from them, okay? So what that does is it profanes the name of God. So when you read this Bible, you're going to look at, man, hey, this has got to be fake, right? Because ain't none of this stuff going on. You don't see no prophets. You don't see none of this, none of that. But a lot of these people don't read. A lot of these people that reject the Bible in and of itself, they probably went to church, and church is full of a bunch of lies. So they reject the lies that they were taught in church. They're not really rejecting the book, because if they read the book, it would really explain why these things are not prevalent today. If whether you want to believe it or not, it's the explanation for it. So basically saying that you profane my holy name, but I'm gonna hallow you. I'm gonna be hallowed in you in the sight of the Gentiles. Basically meaning they're gonna know, they're gonna reverence me as the Holy One when they see all these things, that when these prophecies are being fulfilled in you. What prophecies? When he gathers you up, what? For I will, what does it say right after that? What's going to happen? For I will take you from among the nations. Deuteronomy 30, I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all the countries, and bring you into your own land. Check this out. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean. I will cleanse you from all your filthiness, from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. He said, I'm going to put a new spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and my judgments, and you will do them. Just like he said in Deuteronomy. It's the same thing he said in Deuteronomy. What does he say? I'm going to circumcise your heart so that you can obey these laws which I command you today. The same laws, the same covenant. There's nothing new. The only thing new is your heart. The only thing new is your mind. The only thing new is your environment, because you're coming back into the land. So it's like a do-over, a once-over. Like it's been made anew. Like you got a new slate, or you're gonna get a new chance, another chance, a clean slate. It's not another covenant. It's not like you had an agreement, but that was old and it's done away with, and now there's a new one. And the only way that you can think like that is by staying in that New Testament. That's the only way that you can think that that's saying that, is by only reading that New Testament. You're infatuated with this Jesus Zeus character so much that when you read the New Testament, you're thinking that everything that it quotes from the Tanakh is on point, and you don't even bother going back to reading the context because you got it figured out, right? Because Hebrews explains everything, right? And it pulls up a quote from Jeremiah. You go back in Jeremiah, you read that sentence. Yep, it says that. You close Jeremiah, you go back to Hebrews, and now you think you understand that there's an old covenant. And then when I tell you that there's no such thing as an old covenant, what are you talking about? That sounds stupid. It says it right there. Because we're not reading, bro. Nobody's going and really meditating on the law. If you don't go back and meditate on the law, you're going to be in there infatuated with Jesus in this New Testament, and that's what's going to direct you into understanding what this so-called Old Testament is saying. You think you understand it, but you don't. Okay, because when you go back and you got to read Jeremiah, and it's going to say the same thing that Moses said. They're going to follow the same motif throughout the whole prophecy. All the prophets are going to follow the same motif. The only reason why we go and reread the prophets is because they give a little bit of specific details. Just like in Ezekiel 20, where it says that I'm going to gather you up and bring you into the wilderness of the people. It doesn't say that in Deuteronomy, but it does say that I'm going to gather you from all the places where you've been scattered and bring you back into the land. Ezekiel 20 says, I'm going to bring you into the wilderness of the people, and I'm going to make you pass under the rod. And then in other places, it says that they're going to inhabit those waste places. They're going to tear down those idols. It doesn't say that in Deuteronomy either. And also when it says give you a clean heart, or give you a circumcised heart, it's giving you different renditions, or it's giving you different, not point of view, but it's just saying it in a different way. So I'm going to give you a new heart, put a new spirit within you, cause you to walk in my statutes, cause you to keep my judgments. I'll make a covenant of peace with you, is what it says. But it's not like we're going to do something new that wasn't spoken of before. When he says I'm going to make a new covenant or make a covenant of peace, he basically is just saying what he said in Deuteronomy. You went out, you didn't keep the laws, you grew fat. You got spoiled, and you worshipped all these other foreign gods. So I turned you over to them, scattered you, and then I'm going to bring you back, and I'm going to reestablish this covenant with you that I've already established. This is a covenant that he made. It's a promise. The promise was the scattering, right? And everybody can agree that this is the time period that we're in now. Captivity is scattered. Israel has been scattered. And also we have details from prophets like Joel who say that basically that there will be no more war. We have the promise of the lineage of David. We have the promise to David that one will sit on the throne, that one of his descendants will always sit on the throne. When that throne is established, guess what? It's going to be a descendant of David. That is the promise. And he's going to bring peace to the world. Isaiah 11, he's going to bring peace. They'll beat their swords into plowshares, and then beat their spears into pruning hooks. So basically saying that we're going to stop the war, and everybody's going to start building a better place for the whole world. And the leader of the free world is going to be a descendant of David. That's what that's saying. It's simple. That's all that's saying, man. But you don't get this until first you turn back to that covenant, which people starting to wake up to who they are. We know that we're descendants of the Kachikales. We know that all these things took place here. And that we're the true Americans. We know that we know all this stuff. We're starting to wake up to this. So he's gonna bring out this nation while they're young, just like he did with Israel in the first place, while it was a young nation. He brought them into the wilderness. So he's gonna bring us into the wilderness, us who are waking up. Everybody, what does it say in Ezekiel 20? All of Israel is gonna come out into the wilderness, but all of them are not gonna make it into the land. Because he's going to purge out the rebels. Who would be the rebels? The people who don't want to hear it. I mean, you're going to have people after we've been gathered up, because the Gentiles are going to gather us up, and I'm going to get on that topic later. Look up the King Alfred plan. We're going to get on that topic. Look up the King Alfred plan. We're going to be gathered up. We're scattered by the Gentiles. They hid our lineage. They hid our history. They hid our identity from us. Everything, the curse of confusion. They're confusing us with all the lies and history and school and the media. They're the ones pushing these lies. And this is the promise that the Most High said that he would do to us. This is the curse that he said he would do to us. He's doing it through the Gentiles. So when he gathers us up, what do you think he's going to use? The Gentiles. Read Micah. Where does it say Micah? It said, I'm gonna gather them up like sheep, like a sheep in the fold, like and sheep in a pasture. Okay, so and then they're gonna break out. So it's gonna be people when everybody's gathered up, that's gonna have all these other misconceptions about what's taking place, and we're gonna be forewarned once again. And it's probably gonna be a son of David who's going to do it, a descendant of David who's going to be the one to stand up and lecture everybody on what's going on. They're going to be told, hey, y'all, this has been promised already in the covenant. This is what we're going through. We're being gathered up. We're getting ready to go into our own land. Are you ready? Are you ready? And that's what's going to take place. But some people are going to be so rebellious and so lawless that they're going to be like, this is full of crap, and probably going to want to go back to the old way. They're probably going to want to go back into the United States and like everything's going to be fine again, because this place is going to be destroyed. All right. All the nations this place is going to be destroyed. Okay. And when I say this place, I don't mean the world. I mean the system, the society. Nobody's going to remember this crap. You're not going to have we're going to be doing this gay marriage and all this. That shit is dead. It's dead. Okay. All these churches and all the Jesus and the crosses, dead. Okay. We're going to tear all that down. Okay. So, people are going to want to go back into it because they're so attached, and that's going to be the problem. I believe it, because look at how they did when they came out of Egypt. They were so attached. They couldn't let go of the meat. We had this good food when we were in the wilderness. They were eating roots. When you read about the Caciqueos, they were eating roots. They were surviving. They were kept alive and they were surviving. They were struggling, but they were surviving. And they were so spoiled with Egypt that they wanted to go back. And what happened to them? He wiped them out, purged out the rebels. The same thing is going to happen. Maybe not in the same degree, maybe not the same way, but it's going to be people that are going to be so attached to the United States. They're going to be like, man, and if we're all going to be gathered together, there's going to be some celebrities out there too. Oh, man. Do you think most of the people are going to want to go into this holy land where they probably, I don't know about, I'm not going to say no electricity and all of that, but I'm just saying, they're going to a whole nother land. People ain't gonna want to do that, man. People don't even want to live and people won't even want to sacrifice their living situation to make a little bit more money. You think they want to go, man? They're gonna get out of there and they're gonna run back to the United States so fast to get back to all these luxuries that they think they have, so they can go back and vote for another oppressor to give them some luxury that they think they need, or some money for being enslaved. We want reparations. You think they're going to give it to you, and everybody's going to be holding on to this United States. They're going to go back and they're going to be purged out. I'm telling you, man. So there's going to be a second Exodus. But anyway, so that's what a new covenant is, man. When you get a new heart after you go back into the land, Israel. It's all spelled out in Deuteronomy. So get rid of that New Testament, man, and start understanding the law. Start studying the law. Get into the law and meditate on it, man, what it's saying. Put yourself in your shoes like you're one of the Israelites in the wilderness, and Moses is talking to you, and these words really mean something. They have to really mean something. They can't just be ambiguous terms. You know what I'm saying? Like, New Testament. Now, all of a sudden now Jeremiah is just going to say there's going to be a New Testament. Nobody else said anything about it, but Jeremiah just out of the blue. New Testament, blah, 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 the old one's gone away. Man, that's bullcrap. Got to get out of that New Testament, because what's happening, if you realize that you've been scattered, you realize that you're an Israelite, you're being ruled over by another people, guess what? You're worshiping their gods also. You don't think that they imposed their religion on you? You don't think that they imposed their God on you? Not giving him another color. He didn't just give Jesus a color, change his Hebrew name from Yahweh Shai to Jesus and give him a white face. That ain't what they did. They gave you a whole new God. It took you away from your laws. They made sure that you're not keeping the laws. They took away the Sabbath. Come on, man. We got to get back. We got to get back. Go back to the laws. Go back to trying to keep the Sabbath. I mean, you got to do it with all your heart, man. Do whatever you can. Go back. I'm ready to go back. I'm tired of this shit, man.